Welcome to growthtofreedom.com, the show that brings you inspiration, transformation, and leadership. We're helping you connect the dots, see the blind spots, and get unstuck so you can go out and generate more leads, more sales, more profits. More importantly, so you can go out and have a bigger reach, a bigger impact, and make a bigger contribution. Welcome to this segment. Let me ask you, have you ever said to yourself quietly, wow, I'm going to prove them what? Wrong. Prove them wrong. Have you ever said that? Well, if you've ever said that, or maybe had that inspiration that you know you're destined to do something bigger, do something more valuable in the world, you are going to love today's guest expert. He's an inspiration. He's going to motivate you. He's going to help transform your life here in the next few minutes. And the reason why is he epitomizes transformation. Starts with himself. Always, every single day of his life has been about creating a transformation. Now, he wouldn't have called it that when he was a teenager. He wouldn't have called that probably in the middle of running his electrical business. He wouldn't have called that in building one of the largest training companies in the world for service businesses. He wouldn't have called it any of that. But guess what? Today, you're going to get a glimpse behind a man who's making a big difference in the lives of others. His mission is to go out and impact over 1 million people in the next 10 years in over 100 countries with a program he calls FuDog Group. But before we get to that, let me just give you context of who our guest expert, Mike Agugliaro, is. He grew up maybe like you, maybe like me, and he struggled as a kid. He struggled in school. It wasn't really something that he connected to. He got into martial arts at 15 years old, which had a huge impact on not just his body, but on his mind. And it was that mind focus that transformed him to go out and start his first business in 1994 with a friend of his named Rob, electrical company. They got started, and in less than 10 years, grew that business to over $30 million a year before it was acquired by a private equity company in 2017. He then started CEO Warrior, the largest training and coaching organization for home service businesses in the world. And that company has impacted its clients by helping them grow by over 500 million, over $500 million in growth on his watch. He recently brought in a private equity company to grow it even further. And today he's on a mission with FuDog Group, because here's what he's found. Business is one side of the coin, but what's the other side of the coin? Have you ever noticed that maybe when you're building a business, you give your family leftovers, you give your health leftovers, you give your spiritual side leftovers, because you're so committed to growing this thing called your baby, called your business? Well, guess what? He firmly believes, and he's a living example, that it doesn't have to be that way, that you can play and win on two sides of the coin. FuDog Group, he also has an amazing wife that I've been fortunate enough to work with Mike over the years, and we've gotten a chance to know each other almost a decade now. And his wife, Jennifer, he's got amazing kids. He epitomizes leading by example. So that's a quick backstory. There's more I could share, but for the sake of time, you get the idea. So if you're looking for a way to discover how to play on both sides of the coin, not just your business side, but transform your health, transform your life, transform your relationships so that you can have that full 360-degree fulfillment, you're going to love what Mike has to share with you. Mike, welcome. How are you, brother?
Yeah. Hey, Dan, excited to be here. First off, thank you for all the kind words. Everybody listening, I probably sound more amazing than what I really am. But Dan, first off to you, thanks for putting a show on like this, because this allows people to come to a place to hear things in a way that they could take action on. And that's what I want to make sure of today with our time together. I want to make sure that I give not just maybe a story, a framework, but something that you can put into action. Because so many people listen to these shows, they walk away, they go, oh, did you hear that episode? That was really great. But then there's nothing to do after that. Also, I just want to say thanks for being a great friend and a mentor of mine. Anybody who has a chance to either work with Dan or spend time with Dan, you should take advantage of it, because I know him, like he said, for just about a decade. And he's been part of my life of when I was growing the service company to 32 million and double digit profit, 165 trucks on the road, over 200 employees. And we dominated the state of New Jersey. And I sold that in 2017. And Dan, we were friends then, and you gave me insight on different things then. And you gave me insight when I grew CEO Warrior to the empire it is today. And you still, anytime I have insight. So thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. And now we'll shift the focus to you, Mike, because I mean, you've been at this a long time. What I've been amazed about you is you're like the number one core value in our business is hyper growth. I look to work. Like I only can play well with people who are hyper growth focused, truthfully. Like anybody else is kind of a hard thing for me. And I think you too. So speak to this, like this mind, I don't know if you call it mindset, but mind growth.
Yeah.
Around being someone who's so committed to always stretch the status quo of you first, as well as like what you're growing. Speak to that a little bit.
Yeah. And that's what I needed to solve, right? When I was 15 years old and I was on my own and I was going to a vocational school, learning electrical trades and just trying to survive out there, I really in a short period of time, once I became, I don't want to say when I became an adult, because I felt like I was forced into adulthood at 15. It's very different for kids today. But when I had the responsibility of a home, and I actually had a townhouse when I was 19 years old, I think the interest rate was something like 18%. In like 8 or 9 years, I think I paid off $1,000. And through this struggle, I learned two things. One, work really, really hard. Now, some of you are listening going, oh, well, that's how you're going to win. No, that's all I knew back then. And I only knew that because I felt like the world was like pushing on me. Any of you listening to this, do you ever feel that way? Like you feel like everything's pushing on you, like you have the burden of the world on you. And I remember one night, Dan, when I was in a mall and I had a couple words with some people in the mall, and they said something to me. They said, you'll be like the rest of them. And that resonates with me still. I go, the rest of them. And of course, I was younger and I probably flipped them the fingers, said a whole bunch of curse words at them. And when I went home and laid in my bed that night, which my bed was in a basement, it had no ceiling in it. So it was just the rafters with wires and pipes through it. And I was looking up. And I remember looking up and thinking, like, how is this going to turn out for me? Like, what path? Now, I'm in a vocational school. The majority of kids are on drugs. They're literally snorting cocaine in the back of the bus. They're putting hits of acid in the coffee in electrical shop. And I'm looking at that going, man, that looks like a messed up road right there. I'm looking at another road and I'm like, well, I mean, how do I know any different? Look who I'm surrounded around. And then I just got, I don't know, call it whatever you want, call it universe, call it internal, intuition, voice, whatever, God, whatever you want, said, prove the world wrong. Now, I didn't know the world back then was everybody, Dan. I didn't know who the hell the world was. But when I thought about that, that triggered right there. It triggered me to go, okay, this is what I'm going to do. If everyone goes left, and everyone back then, when I say everyone, it's the majority of my surroundings of kids in school were either getting in trouble, locked up, doing some kind of drugs. I'm going to do the opposite of everybody, which it's not too easy to be in a vocational school where everybody's wearing chain wallets, leather jackets, combat boots, and you're the one that's going to be salutatorian and second in class. I got an afro and a chain wallet and boots. So I looked pretty much like, I don't know how my wife says, she's like, you look like a bad boy, but you're a good boy type thing. And my beautiful wife, we're together since we're 15 years old. So she's been through this whole experience with me. That's what triggered me over time, Dan, to go, wait a second. Do you mean all success that I'm ever going to have, it's going to happen because of me? And I have this thing that I say, like, most people are trying to like 10x their business. You hear this all the time, 10x your business, 10x your business. And what nobody tells you is it sounds easy. Oh, you'll do marketing, sales, operations, systems, all this shit, right? And you'll 10x. No. You want to know how to 10x? You 20x yourself.
That's right.
And Dan, if you look at a life wheel, right? All of you guys have seen these life wheels, and and we have a life wheel. It has 10 pieces on it, 10 slices of pie. Only one of the slices of pie, 1/10, is what we would call your career or your work. The other 9/10, right? Health and recreation and fun and the place you live in, or a community and contribution, or family and partner or love, or your growth and learning, your spirituality, your wealth and finance. These other 9/10, everybody's got you focusing on the 1/10. And what I learned is, if you balance the other 9/10, growing a $32 million business, pretty damn easy. It really is, because everything else is balanced. Let me make one point. I'll hand it back to you. When you have chaos in your relationship with your partner, how's your business doing during that time?
Not good.
Not good. You don't think about your business. You don't even wish you had a business. What about when your health's bad? You're sick, maybe you're dealing with pandemic, COVID, whatever. All of a sudden, what's happening to your business?
Suffers.
Not good. Suffers. What about your spiritual belief? When you lose hope and belief in whatever you want to believe in, higher power, God, Jesus, it doesn't matter to me. You lose hope. What happens to your business? It all goes away. When that clicked for me and I said, you know what? I looked back in time and said, holy crap, 3 decades, Dan. I did this just the other day. I was looking at, what are all the things I did for 3 decades? I've been with my beautiful wife over 3 decades. I've been in martial arts over 3 decades. I've been building businesses over 3 decades. I've been helping people through what you just said. Is it mindset? It's not mindset. I've been helping people have mind growth. If you take concrete, pour it in your mind, it gets hard and it's set. Do you want a mind that is set? This is one of those words the world makes you think of, and it actually controls you. It's like mindset. No, I don't want mindset. I want constant mind growth, constant evolution and ascension.
That's amazing. As you're watching or listening right now, there's so much wisdom in what Mike just shared. And I have to ask you, what would happen for you as you look at your business? And let's say you want to 3x it to 10x it, which we talk a lot about in our programs. Well, the easy way to 3 to 10x your business is to 20x yourself. Think about that. And then what do you have to do to 20x yourself? Physically, emotionally, spiritually, emotionally. And when you get those things in order, your business transforms with you. Your business will only grow to the extent you grow. So which comes first? I encourage you to follow Mike's lead. Now, Mike, as you've been doing this and now you're focused on FuDog Group, right? And helping 1 million people from 100 different countries over the next 10 years or less.
Yeah.
Before we get to that, talk about a little bit of, maybe take us behind the scenes of, some of the common things that you have experienced as some mistakes or failures at this side of it that ultimately you're like, oh, I got to reshift, right? I got to regrow if that's even real.
Yeah.
So speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, I'll talk for myself. My biggest personal, Dan, awakening that has happened in the last year is, now that my wife and I, we started this company, FuDog Group, which is all about transforming humanity one person at a time. And we do it through connection, implementation, and transformation. When I look back at where I started as a kid, and a lot of people don't know this, Dan, I actually thought I was going to be a doctor. I did, because when I was young, if my sister got hurt, I was the first one to get peroxide and Neosporin and bandaged her up. And I really thought, now the cards didn't head that way. And I thought, well, I guess I'm not going to be a doctor. But if I rewound time and I look back, I actually became a doctor. Maybe not a doctor in a sense with a degree because I went to the school for this, but a doctor at a level that I've helped a lot of people through suffering and anxiety and depressions and frustrations and failures on all different levels. When I spent the last 7 years helping service companies grow, which, by the way, in the last year, I think we helped 17 of them sell and become multi millionaires. When I look at it, I was just a doctor for their business. But when I was in my learning martial arts and I was 19 or 20, Dan, I was already helping. It's called the DARE program. I don't know if you guys have heard. The DARE program was a program where they took kids, and it was like a program to try to help young kids, teens. And it was like the last effort before they go to scared straight or juvenile or prison. And I would go there, and through martial arts, I would take these 14, 15-year-olds and try to show them a way of discipline and focus. And sometimes at the young age of 20, I mean, I would be in a home with a mom that's crying because the son's in the other room with a heroin needle in his arm. The son's crying because the son doesn't want a heroin needle in his arm. And with whatever skills I had, I would talk to both of them and help guide them through this journey. You know, then I kind of got lost a little bit. People say, oh, you didn't get lost. You built a big ass service company, 32 million. Yeah, I had a lot of fun, and I was always helping people still there. And I grew a service company. But in the last year, Dan, I figured it out. All of that was training just to come back and reinforce who I really was put on the planet for, to serve people, to remove the suffering and the pain and the struggle. And a good way for people to think about me is, after people have done all this personal growth, right? All these personal and self-development trainings, and they feel they're at a point like they just didn't get it, they didn't break through, or they're capped out. That's where we pick up. That's where we pick up. And please, I'm just like a lot of you, I listen to a lot of shows and I know a lot of gurus. Well, I'm not going to be one of those gurus to tell you everything was peaceful. I'm not. I'm going to tell you this, Dan. I learned some things. Like, I'll give you a big lesson, because maybe some of you listening are in a relationship. As I was growing a company, I was going to all these trainings, Dan, and all these seminars, and I was growing, and I would come home, and my wife's taking care of the family. She's taking care of the kids, right? Which is really, that's like the difficult thing. Going, hanging out, learning stuff, eating shrimp cocktail at some big event. Not too difficult, right?
Right.
But then what happened is I learned something. My wife and I, we had these rocky roads, and eventually we went to a training together, and we figured it out together. Holy crap. I was out there growing. She's in here taking care of kids. Once we fixed that and we started both growing together, we didn't have to learn the same stuff. We just both needed to be learning something. Everything changed in the relationship. And I just want this to be one key, that if you're one of those people out there and you have a relationship and you're saying, oh, my husband doesn't like to do this improve himself stuff, or my wife doesn't like to do this seminar stuff. Let me explain the seminar that every one of them eventually, and I hope not, maybe I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, but we'll end up in, is called the seminar of divorce and separation. Because if you're not growing together, you're growing apart. And I always tell people, you all heard the phrase, if you're not growing, everybody says dying. And I don't believe that's true anymore. I believe if you're not growing, you're already dead and haven't even realized it yet. You're walking emotional death. And you see it with what's happening today. Like, everybody has put, and this was a big lesson for me the last couple of years, everybody makes something that's not good for them such a downside. All they call it is negative. It's negative. It's negative. I said, okay, but like, a very wise man told me, Dan, he said, the only difference between negative and positive is the definition you give it. So I started saying, well, wait a minute. What if I start looking at everything as it's got an upside and a downside? Look, the pandemic, everybody goes, oh, it's so bad. Okay. You know how many families got closer together? You know how many people fix their health right now because they're like, wait a minute, if you have health problems and you have been eating nachos and Cheerios and all this stuff every day, you got a bigger chance of a problem. So if you could start looking at the upside and you could start aligning your family, which is like, they're grown up, so I had no trouble now. I mean, my daughter walked across hot coals when she was 7 years old. Now, maybe today they call typhus or something. I don't know. But, she was 7 years old when she walked across hot coals. Now, and nothing happened, and she was fine. And I mean, she was 7 years old. She walked across 50 pounds of broken glass. And when she walked across that, I said, why did you want to do this? She goes, Dan, she said, It was so beautiful the way it shimmered. And I went, she didn't have all these limiting beliefs and programs. Let me give you one more, and I want to stack some things here. If you look at the biggest lesson in the world, it's like we've all been programmed with some kind of information by someone who really cared about you and only taught you what they thought you needed for the next level of life. But some of it happened, and just changing the one little thing could change everything, Dan. I mean, look at this simple thing. When I was a kid, I wonder if, like you or anybody listening, I'm walking down the road and I find a quarter, and I think I found gold at 5 years old, right? A quarter? It's like find a meteorite fell. And I pick it up and I'm like, a quarter. Oh my goodness. Oh my mom. And she goes, oh, that's really great. Now go wash your hands. Money is dirty. Now, people listening to this are adults going, yeah, that happened to me, but I don't believe that. It doesn't matter if you believed it or not now. It doesn't matter that you know money's not dirty. You still have that thought in there. You still have that paradigm inside yourself. And when you look at relationships, your relationship may be a little different than your parents, but I bet it has more common themes than separate themes than your parents. So I know I'm throwing a lot at everybody here, but I want to give you different ways to think about things that you go, you know what? Wait a second. Let me look in the mirror and let me not see the reflection coming back. Let me see the reflection I want to come back. Really think about that. When you look in the mirror today, and most people, Dan, they brushed their teeth this morning probably, and they don't, if I said, tell me what you thought when you looked in the mirror, they will say, I don't even remember looking in the mirror. I said, but you brushed your teeth. You probably looked in the mirror. They said, yeah, but I don't remember it. Because you've been trained to look away instead of look at, because you haven't been trained what you want to see versus what you think you're seeing. People look and they go, oh, you know, I'm older and I have wrinkles. I'm level 51 now. Level 51 is a better way than saying 51 years old, because I believe every year that goes up, you get stronger, you get smarter, you get more powerful. When I look in there, I go, this is what level 51 looks like. And it's just right for me right now. Now, does that mean I don't want to make some improvements? Of course not. But does it mean I'm beating myself down and trying not to look in the mirror, brush my teeth over here? No, I don't want that either. I hope everybody, you should pause right now listening to this, and everybody should take their pen and write down some notes of what you heard and say, okay, here's an action step. Even if it's the simple one, Dan, when you look in the mirror, look at yourself, see yourself. I did a video the other day, Dan, and I said, where did you lose your self-worth? Where did you lose your self-worth in yourself? And this is, I know a lot of people, Dan, they go to motivational seminars and webinars and stuff, and it's all about motivation. It's not about motivation. It's not. Motivation goes away. I went to all of them. I mean, millions of dollars in every training. Dan, you know, we've been to a lot of them together. I've raised my hands, clapped my hands, and went home Monday morning. Monday woke up in the morning and wondered where the hell everyone was. I felt very lonely. That's motivation. Transformation is you take a training, you take something, it shifts something, and then all of a sudden you wake up Monday morning and you're ready. You're not looking for 500 or 5,000 people to jump with you because you don't need it. You can jump by yourself.
And what would that be worth as you're watching or listening right now? Right? And what would it be worth if you could shed some of these subtle, hidden beliefs that have been planted like seeds in your soil, called your mind, your heart, your soul? I mean, think about it. Like, how would it shift the game if you were able to shift your thinking and be able to see both sides of that coin, negative, positive, and then choose which one you want to own, which story serves you best? What if you could actually look at your relationship truthfully? You know, the first progress starts by telling the truth. And look at your relationship and going, is it common? Probably to my parents. Well, what would I have to do to transform it, to make it even better, right? Or how you raise your kids, or how you pursue your health. What would that be worth to you to shift some of these hidden beliefs that might be holding you back. I mean, Mike, you've already given us a glimpse. I mean, what I notice about you, Mike, in our time together over the last decade is you have an amazing ability to help people, right? Because I've watched and been at events you've hosted as we did some things together, and like you help them write. You've helped hundreds of thousands of people write or rewrite their story to serve them much better. Speak to this idea, this framework of writing a new story.
Yeah. And first off, I always wanted to make sure, Dan, for everything I did, I think in the world of people that are in, human development, peak performance, personal growth, I think a lot of them become so much about them and not about the people. And I've always been about the people, because I think when you understand struggle, you want to remove struggle for others. And I think that's important. Is I always wanted that if somebody couldn't come to training, man, I got a book. If they couldn't buy the book for $10, I'll give them the book, right? I always wanted to make sure that I was able to help people shift and change. Here's the first thing. There's a couple types of people out there. My dad is one of those people, like he is who he is. And his thing is no need to change. I'm just the way I am. On the flip of the coin, not happy with what he has, right?
Yep.
And I think when you look at your life and everybody sits here and you're reflecting on what you're listening and you're hearing from Dan and myself, you want to sit back and say to yourself, wait a second, all the things like time is short and time goes quick. I always went for impact. That's it. That's all I wanted. Impact. When I grew a service company, it was called Gold Medal Service in New Jersey. I wanted to impact New Jersey. I wanted to protect New Jersey. I wanted to, because I was an electrician by trade and climbed in crawl spaces and that, I saw all the stuff that homeowners were unhappy with, the scary things, the almost fires, the fires. And I wanted to remove that and give them someone to call that could protect them. And I wanted to make impact also in the way the other tradespeople behaved in the state of New Jersey. They were sloppy, they were dirty, they weren't respectful, and it wasn't their fault. I mean, let's face it, the biggest segregation in the world that's happened forever, everybody ignores, Dan. White collar, blue collar. What about human creating a life? Why do we even have to have that segregation of that? So they've already been casted out. So that was the first thing. When I started CEO Warrior, I wanted one thing and one thing only: change the damn industry so that these people that come and fix your plumbing, that a lot of people take advantage of, and their heating and their electric and their backed up drains. And I wanted them to stop getting divorced, stop dying early, having heart attacks and strokes, can't move their limbs, their fingers got carpal tunnel in it. And I wanted to shift an industry. It's the same thing now, because Dan, here's the deal. I right now at a stage, and let me give everybody something to kind of freak you out a little bit. Dan, can I freak them out just a little
Absolutely.
bit? Okay,
for
let me
sure.
freak you out a bit.
Get freaked out. Get ready.
Yeah, get ready for sure. As you sit here and think, you start saying to yourself, okay, what's my life going to be like in 10 years? Like, what do I want to do? Where do I want to go? What do I want to experience? And you go, okay, not too far of a stretch for some of you, right? If you're 60, it'll be 70. If you're 40, it'll be 50. But what about if we start saying 100 years now? Hey, what would I like the next 100 years? You go, and right away your thought goes, I'll be dead, because you're 50, and you go, I can't live to 150. But I mean, do you know do you want that to be true? Do you know it to be true for a fact? I mean, we're going to be living on Mars. You think that we're still going to die at 85 or whatever your choice is? But let me give you something bigger to think about, something to really shift. What if you sat here today and said to yourself, by listening to this one episode and taking one action, just one action, what would the catalyst of that one action be, Dan, 1,000 years from now? Now the brain goes, what? What are you talking about? I'm only thinking because my grandfather and my dad lived to 95. I can only stretch 95. And I said, okay, but that's the problem. You're only stretching 95. What if you stretched another 100, 500, 1,000? People go, this is crazy. So I looked up on the internet, and there's companies, Dan, companies in Japan that have been around running a business for over 1,000 years. So now you're sitting here going, oh, I got my business 10 years. You think 100 years is old. You think Sears is old. And you say to yourself, wait a minute, what about 1,000 years from now? I think our paradigms of our minds have been shrunken and stuck in such a small box for what's possible today. And I'm hoping that this episode here opens that up. Look, my ability to focus on impacting people's lives, I always call it creating a movement. Most people are afraid to create a movement because you know what? When you create a movement, you're going to get mocked. You're going to hit roadblocks. You're going to feel failures and everything in between. But when you believe that at the end of your day, you want to say that impact of that company, that impact of those people, that impact on this part of the world, I'm not looking for, I don't care they put me on a pedestal. I don't care they put me on a plaque. I just want one day that some conscious thought goes, you know what? That episode right here, that changed the game in a lot of ways. And they could track it back and go, look at that. What Dan and Mike shared literally changed the way relationships have, or health has, or the way they think about their career. And there's so much distorted information out there because, Dan, who do you trust? Who do you trust? I mean, my mom, let me tell you, this is funny. Well, I only failed one class as a kid, Dan. Otherwise, I was I got salutatorian out of 300 students. I was second. I always said the only reason I was second is I had a girlfriend. It was my wife. The other guy who won valedictorian, he had no girlfriend. So he had nothing else to do but study. And actually, it wasn't too hard because, I never did drugs. My whole life, I never did drugs. I never drank alcohol. I'm not mocking it if anybody does. And so it's pretty easy because the majority of them were on drugs. So it's not like I was super special. I just had a pretty clear mind. And my gym, I used to cut out of gym because I had such a hard time that this overweight gym teacher was telling me to do push-ups and run around. So I failed, and my mom came, they called her in to come and meet the gym teacher. And my mom and I are walking down the hall. I remember it like it's yesterday, walking down this hall. And she goes, hey, we're looking for the gym teacher. And the guy goes, oh yeah, that's me. And she looks down at his belly and goes, nah. And then I laughed, and she said, that was very inappropriate for me to do that. And I think there's a lot of people that are overweight trying to teach people how to become physically fit. And a lot of people there, and Dan, you know this, because how many green rooms, they call it, hey, everybody, they make you feel fancy. You're like, you're going to speak on stage. You think you're a hotshot, and they go, you're going to go in the green room. You know what they got? Fuji water and some crappy M&Ms or something, right? It's very rarely that it's anything special. And when you're in the green room, you find out all these people that you admired for most of your life are a wreck. They're a wreck. Not train wreck. Teach. Their life is a wreck. And you're sitting back there and you're, oh yeah, I'm getting divorced, this and this went away, and I got sued for that, and I'm this and that. And I go, I'm sitting here going, oh my God, what if most of my idols that I admired were fake? And then I made a decision after many of those moments early in my life that I will not go forward and ever be a fake. If I'm struggling, I'm going to tell you I'm struggling. If I'm arguing with my wife, I'm telling you I'm arguing with my wife. If I'm having problems with my kids, you know this. We have a friendship we share openly all the time. I'm like, I'm not sugarcoating anything for you, because when you sugarcoat, you're not serving anybody at all. Dan, can I share one more quick story?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm going to give you two different paradigms to think about things. One paradigm, because I know you attract a whole lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, and I'm going to share some. Everybody, and I love the book too, 4-Hour Workweek. Great book. Tim Ferriss, super smart dude. I turn around and everybody wants to put their badge of honor on this book. You meet them, Dan, you know them, they're like, I only work 3.5 minutes a week. And I'm like, okay, well, first off, I am very sorry for you that you hate what you do in life so much that you only want to do it 4 hours a week. That sounds like a horrible life you have.
Yes.
Let's get rid of it completely. And people go, oh man, I never thought of this. Of course you didn't. Then you ask everybody this. Who's read Think and Grow Rich? The double hands go up, the wave happens in the room. Everybody's so proud. And I go, okay, now let's be transparent. Raise your hand if you're rich. 20% at best, maybe 10% of the hands go up. I go, okay, maybe it's not a bad book, but maybe it's the wrong effing book for you, right? The last one is this. I think of everybody that plays the lottery, they can't wait to win. Only effort they had to do, Dan, was buy a ticket, right? It's like my friend said, oh man, and I don't watch football. I don't watch sports, anything. MMA, I watch sometimes. Everybody goes, my team won, my football team won. And I go, your team? What'd you do? You sat there, you drank, you ate nachos, you ate too much popcorn, hot dogs, and your team won. You act like you ran out in the cold field, had collisions with people. It's so crazy. So somebody tells me, I remember telling my kids and reading them the book of the Genie in the bottle, Dan, you rub the Genie and the Genie comes out. And I said, this is such a silly, silly story. It's actually a wrong story. It's almost like the tortoise and the hare. Do you really think the tortoise won the race? Do you see how fast a rabbit runs? The tortoise never won a race. That was for people that moved too slow so they didn't feel bad about themselves. Think about it. So the Genie in the bottle, I have my version of it I want to share with everybody. You get the Genie in the bottle, and this is the real Genie in the bottle. You rub it and the Genie comes out. Dan, it's big, it's huge, and it's whatever you want it to look like. It could be a beautiful woman that's powerful or a strong Herculite man, whatever. And the Genie says this to you, Dan, I can grant you any wish you want, as many as you want, as long as I know you cannot grant it to yourself. And the Genie goes back in the bottle. So you go, I got it. All right. I want to make $100 million. Rub it, Genie, 100 million. The Genie goes, Dan, I told you, I can only grant you a wish you can't grant yourself. Back in the Genie bottle. So you go, okay, I'll do a big one here. Rub the Genie comes out. You say, I want to remove hunger from the planet. And the Genie says, I told you, I could only grant you a wish I know you can't grant yourself. When you think about that and all these things, the minute you could accept, instead of finding the Genie in the bottle, that you are the Genie of your life, boom, everything changes. Now, I'm not going to make that sound easy because you need to learn and you need to get rid of resistance and you need to shed things and start to think a little different and take different actions. And the other thing, Dan, everybody goes like this. You know what they want to know from me? I bet they ask you the same thing. I know they do. Mike, what is your morning routine? And I go, well, I wake up around 7:30. Like when I wake up, and they're like, you don't get up at 4:30 and like exercise? I'm like, I'd throw up at 4:30 in the morning. I wake up at 7:30 and I roll over and they're like, well, what do you do next? You must meditate like a monk. You must do that. And I like, well, actually, I click on Facebook and I see what's kind of happening. And I start to look at how people are behaving and stuff. And they're like, okay, after that, you must go to the gym. And I'm like, no, because that's my peak time. So I start building stuff. And they're like, what do you mean? Everybody told me I have to get up at this time and I got to meditate this way and I have to breathe this way. And I said, look, if it was that perfect of a one size fits all, everybody would be wealthy and everybody's life would be amazing. It's always going to be your formula that fits you. And Dan, I've always built my own formula and I teach people a framework. Say, here's my framework. But you know what? I don't know if that cookie recipe is perfect for you. You know this. How many companies have you helped? You could give people the perfect cookie recipe and they go, I don't like that type of cookie. Can we have oatmeal cookie? And if you don't give them oatmeal cookie, you can only guide them to make oatmeal cookies. But if they don't ever eat the cookie, they don't ever get the result. And just so everybody listening, Dan always does this to me. He lets me talk too much. He gets me all cranked up for all of you. And I'm always honored that he lets me do this. So
amazing, amazing. And as you're listening, you are the Genie of your life. Yeah. You have an ability to write your story, not a one size fits all story, but a custom built version for you. Build your formula. Now, if you want help to build your formula, if you want help to write your story, if you want help to remove suffering, to flip the coin and realize, if you agree that it's not just my business, but it's your life, your health, your relationships, and a whole lot more that Mike could help you with, then I want to encourage you to go learn what Mike has available. Mike, where can people get in touch with you? Where can they connect with you and learn more about what you're doing with the FuDog Group?
Yeah, go to FuDogGroup.com. That's FUDOG Group.com. You also, I'm sure my name will be posted somewhere. Find me on Facebook and Telegram. Say hello to me. If you implemented stuff, which I hope you implement stuff, send me a private message. I promise it'll be me responding. I don't have anybody else doing it. And check out what we got going on. Look, if I can help anybody, Dan, especially if they're one of your listeners in any way, if I could give them a resource, a book, something I have, I just want to help people, because you know what? The more that we all help each other right now, we will change this world. And I refuse to quit on humanity and the world as it is today. I will not. And if I have to pull this and put it on my shoulders and carry it forward myself, I'm going to do it. It'll be so much easier if you join me in some way to help me change humanity. So it's been, Dan, it's always an honor to hang out with you. You're one of my dearest friends. And for everybody else here, I look forward to create a friendship with you.
And I want to encourage you, go to FuDogGroup.com, FuDogGroup.com. By the way, all the notes, all the resources, everything that we've covered will be in the show notes for this segment, this session, this episode. Go to FuDogGroup.com to connect with Mike, learn more about what he's doing, or go to Facebook, go to Telegram, connect with him. You will find out, like I found out, like so many people have found out about Mike, he's the real deal, right? And when you're in the green room, if you ever get a chance to be in the green room with Mike, you'll probably meet that one person of a few that you'll ever meet in this industry that's walking their talk, leading by example. And if you want to follow or find how someone like Mike can help you, again, go to FuDogGroup.com. That's FuDogGroup.com. Mike, awesome as always, my brother. A pleasure. Amazing.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Boom.
So take action with what Mike has shared with you. Apply what he's shared. I've got 5.5 pages of notes here, right? Let's talk about a couple. What would it be worth if you looked out 100 years? Oh, let's go deeper. What would happen if you looked out 1,000 years? And what is that life for you? How can you leave that impact behind in 1,000 years? Have your company be a legacy company for 1,000 years, like some in Japan. Mike can show you how. Or how about being able to shift an entire industry, the way they operate, the way they think, the way they behave, the way they build culture, the way they help people with their life, relationships, health, and more. Thanks for listening to this episode of growth2freedom.com. Are you struggling to get a steady flow of new clients every day? Or maybe hit a plateau or hit a wall in growing your business? Well, let's help you solve this problem today. Let's review your business and have a conversation. You can do that for free today at breakthroughstrategycall.com. That's breakthroughstrategycall.com. In addition, if you're looking for a simple way to implement some of what we've been talking about in today's episode, then I want to encourage you to get our free small business toolkit. You can get that at activate.breakthrough3x.com. That's activate.breakthrough3x.com. If you'd like access to the special resources and all the show notes for this special episode, make sure to visit growth2freedom.com.